the discovery that made distance disappear. For most of human history, distance was a wall that could not be crossed, turning unfamiliar places into mysteries and separating lives by days, weeks, or even lifetimes. To understand why distance once ruled human possibility, we must return to a world where movement was slow, dangerous, and uncertain, and where anything beyond the horizon might as well have existed in another reality. Early humans lived locally, because traveling far meant risking food, safety, and return itself. The boundary of the known world was rarely more than a few days' walk, and beyond that boundary lay not just the unknown, but the unknowable. Messages moved only as fast as a person could walk. Trade was limited by endurance. Relationships faded with space. Knowledge stayed trapped inside regions, evolving separately, unaware of what others had already learned. Distance shaped fear. The unknown was not abstract. It was physically unreachable, beyond familiar land. Survival rules changed, languages shifted, and trust vanished. Separation was permanent more often than not. Those who left rarely returned, and those who stayed could only imagine what existed beyond the last familiar hill. Then humans began searching for ways to bridge space without crossing it. At first, the attempts were small and uncertain. Signals made with smoke, fires lit on distant hills, sounds echoed across valleys. These were not solutions, but experiments, brief moments where humans tested whether presence could travel without the body. Slowly, something unexpected happened. Humans realized that meaning could move faster than people. A warning could reach a village without the danger traveling with it. A message could arrive without footsteps behind it. This was not about speed yet. It was about reach. And in that realization, distance began to lose its power. Because for the first time, humans imagined connection without contact. The world was still vast, but it was no longer silent. Once humans realized that messages could travel without bodies, they began experimenting relentlessly, because shrinking distance promised safety, coordination, and control. Signals grew more deliberate. Smoke patterns carried meaning. Drums echoed rhythms across forests. Horns cut through open land. Light and sound became tools, shaped to move information instead of people. Each method extended the range of human awareness beyond the limits of the body, turning the landscape itself into a medium for communication. These methods were limited, but powerful. A village could be warned of danger before it arrived. Hunters could coordinate across terrain. Groups could act as one even when separated. Over time, systems emerged. Specific sounds meant specific actions. Repetition built understanding. Distance stopped being empty space and became a channel. But these early breakthroughs carried flaws. Weather interfered. Night silenced signals. Meaning could be misread. Communication remained fragile and temporary. Each method worked only under specific conditions, and failures could be costly, turning a missed signal into a missed opportunity for survival. Still, humans pushed forward because every improvement brought greater coordination. Trade routes expanded. Alliances formed. Knowledge traveled farther than any single person could walk. Writing amplified this shift. Messages could now move through time as well as space. A decision made in one place could influence events far away and far later. The written word gave distance a memory, allowing instructions, warnings, and agreements to persist long after the moment they were created. Yet the true transformation came when humans learned to move ideas faster than physical reality itself. Roads improved. Ships crossed oceans. Carriers moved messages with purpose. Distance began collapsing under intention. With every advancement, the world felt smaller. Cultures collided. Beliefs spread. Conflict expanded. Connection increased opportunity, but also consequence. Distance was no longer a barrier. It was a challenge to be overcome. As distance continued to collapse, its disappearance began reshaping human relationships, power, and identity. Because once connection became possible, isolation became a choice rather than a condition. Empires expanded not only through force, but through communication. Orders traveled faster. Control reached farther. A single decision could affect lives hundreds of miles away. Authority no longer needed presence. The ability to project power across space without physically occupying it transformed governance, allowing centralized control on a scale that had never been possible when rulers could only influence what they could see. trade transformed just as quickly. Goods moved across continents. Ideas moved even faster. Techniques, beliefs, and inventions spread, mixing cultures that once evolved separately. Progress accelerated through collision, but this compression of space created tension. Local traditions faced outside influence. Trust eroded as strangers gained access. Distance had once protected difference. Now, difference met pressure. Communities that had developed their own solutions to survival suddenly encountered alternatives that challenged their assumptions, and the resulting friction reshaped identities as much as economies. Speed amplified consequences. A misunderstanding could spark conflict far away. A rumor could destabilize regions. Information gained power without accountability. As messages outpaced experience, humans began forming opinions about places they had never seen and people they had never met. Reality became mediated by communication rather than contact. This shift altered how humans perceive the world. The horizon no longer marked an edge. It marked connection. The unknown felt closer, but also more threatening. Distance had once slowed conflict, now accelerated it. And as connection increased, so did dependence. Societies relied on distant resources, distant allies, distant systems. A disruption far away could cause collapse nearby. The world had become linked, but not necessarily understood. And this growing imbalance was leading to a moment of reckoning. The moment distance truly disappeared was not when humans moved faster, but when separation stopped limiting influence. Because once ideas could travel freely, power no longer belonged to those who were physically present. It belonged to those who could reach farther, speak louder, and move meaning across space without moving themselves. Distance had once protected communities, slowed conflict, and contained mistakes. Its disappearance removed those buffers. Decisions echoed outward. Actions rippled globally. No place remained untouched by events elsewhere. Yet this collapse also unlocked unprecedented cooperation. Knowledge spread rapidly. Help arrived sooner. Innovation accelerated through shared understanding. Humanity began functioning less like scattered groups and more like a single system. The same interconnection that carried risk also carried resilience, allowing solutions to travel as fast as problems. This was the paradox of connection. The closer the world became, the more fragile it felt. A failure in one place could destabilize many. A misunderstanding could scale into disaster. And still, humans chose connection, because shrinking distance fulfilled a deeper desire than convenience. It satisfied the need to be seen, heard, and linked beyond isolation. It turned strangers into neighbors and horizons into conversations. Today, we live fully inside this discovery. Distance still exists, but its power is mostly gone. Messages cross the planet instantly. Influence travels without permission. The world fits inside moments. What began with smoke, sound, and signal has become constant presence. Distance did not vanish by accident. It was erased by human insistence on connection. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future.